Among the ground crew at Edwards Air Force Base, Sarah Mitchell was the quietest one. For 3 years, she maintained F-22s, never talked to anyone. But when enemy missiles approached and a pilot was desperately needed for defense, Sarah climbing into the cockpit and saying "Ghost Rider ready" shook the entire airbase. Which city in the world are you watching this video from today? If you liked this story about those who serve in silence, please subscribe and support us for more stories. Edwards Air Force Base stood as the premier flight test center for the United States Air Force, its vast expanse of desert runways and state-of-the-art facilities serving as the birthplace for America's most advanced military aircraft and aerospace technologies. Located in the Mojave Desert of California, Edwards had been the testing ground for every major American fighter aircraft, bomber, and experimental vehicle that had pushed the boundaries of flight performance and military aviation capabilities for over 7 decades. The base's mission encompassed not just routine flight operations, but also the most classified and dangerous test flights that evaluated cutting-edge aircraft systems, weapons platforms, and experimental technologies that would determine American air superiority for generations to come. The work conducted at Edwards required the highest levels of security clearance, technical expertise, and flying skills that only the most elite pilots and engineers in the world possessed. Among the hundreds of personnel who supported Edwards' mission were the ground crews responsible for maintaining the sophisticated aircraft that conducted test flights daily. These technicians worked with F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning II fighters, experimental stealth aircraft, and prototype systems that represented billions of dollars in research and development investments that could not afford mechanical failures or maintenance errors. The ground crew teams at Edwards were known throughout the Air Force for their exceptional technical skills and attention to detail that kept the world's most advanced aircraft operational under the demanding conditions of experimental flight testing. Their work required not just mechanical expertise, but also understanding of classified systems and experimental technologies that went far beyond standard aircraft maintenance procedures. Among the ground crew technicians working on F-22 Raptor maintenance was Sarah Mitchell, a 35-year-old woman who had been employed at Edwards for the past 3 years as an aircraft systems specialist. To her colleagues and the pilots whose aircraft she maintained, Sarah appeared to be exactly what her job description suggested, a highly skilled technician with exceptional knowledge of advanced fighter aircraft systems and the meticulous attention to detail required for maintaining aircraft that flew at the limits of performance and safety. Sarah's approach to aircraft maintenance was precise and methodical in ways that distinguished her from even the most experienced ground crew personnel at Edwards. While other technicians might focus on specific systems or components, Sarah demonstrated comprehensive understanding of every aspect of F-22 operations, from engine performance and flight control systems to weapons integration and stealth technology that suggested training and experience that went beyond standard technical education. Her work habits were also unusual for ground crew personnel. Sarah typically worked alone, avoided unnecessary conversation with colleagues, and maintained a level of professional focus that some interpreted as antisocial behavior but actually reflected operational security practices that were designed to prevent inadvertent disclosure of classified information and maintain cover identities that could be compromised through casual social interactions. What her colleagues and supervisors didn't know was that Sarah's position as a ground crew technician was not a career choice based on mechanical aptitude, but rather a carefully constructed cover identity that concealed her true background and the real reason she had been assigned to one of America's most important aerospace testing facilities. Sarah Mitchell was not just an aircraft maintenance specialist with advanced technical knowledge. She was Colonel Sarah Mitchell, a 15-year veteran of the Air Force's most classified test pilot programs, with over 3,000 hours of flight time in experimental aircraft and combat systems that had never been publicly acknowledged or officially documented in standard military records. Her aviation background included graduation from the Air Force Test Pilot School, participation in classified development programs for stealth aircraft and advanced weapons systems, and operational experience with prototype fighters that had pushed the boundaries of flight performance and military capabilities. Sarah's expertise encompassed not just flying skills, but also engineering knowledge and tactical understanding that made her invaluable for evaluating aircraft that would determine American military aviation capabilities for decades to come. The decision to place Sarah in an undercover assignment as ground crew personnel had been made at the highest levels of Air Force intelligence and aerospace security, based on concerns that foreign intelligence services were attempting to gather information about American aircraft capabilities and testing procedures through personnel who had access to classified facilities and experimental systems. Sarah's mission was to serve as a counterintelligence asset who could monitor potential security threats while maintaining her cover as a maintenance technician, ready to respond if situations arose that required her actual piloting expertise, or if classified aircraft needed to be protected from capture or compromise through direct action that only a qualified test pilot could provide. The sophisticated nature of Sarah's cover identity required her to actually perform aircraft maintenance at an expert level while conducting intelligence operations that went far beyond her apparent responsibilities. Her test pilot training had included comprehensive technical education that enabled her to work on aircraft systems with the same competence as career maintenance personnel, making her cover identity virtually undetectable. For 3 years, Sarah had successfully maintained her dual role without incident. She had identified several potential security concerns, provided intelligence reports that had enhanced base security procedures, and remained ready to respond if circumstances required her actual flying capabilities to protect classified aircraft or personnel from threats that conventional security measures could not address. Sarah's daily routine provided ideal cover for her intelligence activities while keeping her current with aircraft systems and operational procedures that might be crucial if she needed to transition from maintenance technician to operational pilot. Her hands-on work with F-22 systems kept her familiar with the latest modifications and upgrades that could affect flight performance and tactical capabilities. Her position also allowed her to monitor pilot activities, flight schedules, and operational procedures that could be relevant to base security while maintaining the technical expertise needed to support test flights that often involved classified systems and experimental capabilities that required absolute secrecy and operational security. The crisis that would ultimately expose Sarah's true identity began on a Tuesday morning in late September when multiple radar installations detected incoming missile threats approaching the California coast from an unidentified launch platform that appeared to be conducting a deliberate attack against American military installations, including Edwards Air Force Base. The threat assessment indicated that hostile forces had launched what appeared to be intermediate-range ballistic missiles toward Edwards and other strategic military facilities, creating an immediate national security crisis that required rapid response to defend American aerospace capabilities and prevent the compromise or destruction of classified aircraft and research facilities. Edwards Air Force Base immediately implemented emergency protocols that included scrambling all available fighter aircraft to establish defensive perimeters and intercept incoming threats before they could reach their intended targets. However, the timing of the attack had been carefully planned to exploit vulnerabilities in American defensive capabilities. Most of Edwards' operational pilots were conducting classified test flights at remote locations or participating in joint exercises that had taken them away from the base during the critical period when defensive aircraft would be needed most urgently. The available pilots were either involved in ongoing test flights that could not be immediately terminated or were at other facilities conducting operations that made immediate return to Edwards impossible. The base commander found himself facing an unprecedented situation: incoming missile threats that required immediate fighter response, but insufficient qualified pilots available to fly the defensive missions that could protect Edwards and its irreplaceable research capabilities from destruction or compromise. Sarah was conducting routine maintenance on an F-22 Raptor when the base emergency alert system activated, indicating incoming threats, and implementing procedures that required all non-essential personnel to seek shelter while operational units prepared for defensive combat operations. However, Sarah's intelligence training told her that the situation required more than passive defensive measures. Her assessment of the tactical situation indicated that the incoming missiles represented a coordinated attack designed to neutralize American aerospace testing capabilities and potentially capture or destroy classified aircraft that could not be allowed to fall into hostile hands. The timing and coordination of the attack suggested sophisticated planning and intelligence gathering that had identified vulnerabilities in Edwards' defensive capabilities. As the crisis developed and it became clear that insufficient pilots were available to mount an adequate defensive response, Sarah made the decision that would reveal her true identity and capabilities. The F-22 she had been maintaining was fully operational, armed, and ready for immediate flight operations that could provide the defensive capabilities needed to protect Edwards and intercept incoming threats. Sarah's transformation from aircraft maintenance technician to operational fighter pilot was immediate and complete. She quickly completed pre-flight procedures with the efficiency of an experienced test pilot, activated aircraft systems with expert knowledge that went far beyond maintenance procedures, and prepared for flight operations that would require every bit of her classified training and combat experience. Using the aircraft's communication systems, Sarah contacted Edwards' control tower and identified herself using the call sign that would immediately alert base personnel to her true identity and qualifications. Her voice carried the calm authority of an experienced military pilot preparing for combat operations that could determine the survival of one of America's most important military installations.
Edwards Control. This is Ghost Rider requesting immediate takeoff clearance for defensive intercept mission, Sarah announced, using the call sign that identified her as one of the Air Force's most classified and experienced test pilots with authority to conduct independent flight operations under emergency circumstances.
The effect of Sarah's transmission on Edwards' control tower personnel was immediate and dramatic. Ghost Rider was a call sign known only to personnel with the highest security clearances, identifying pilots who participated in the most classified aerospace programs and possessed capabilities that went far beyond standard military aviation training. The revelation that Ghost Rider was not just present at Edwards but actually preparing for immediate flight operations provided Base Command with defensive capabilities they had not known were available, transforming what had appeared to be an impossible tactical situation into a manageable defensive operation. Sarah's takeoff and subsequent intercept mission demonstrated flying skills and tactical expertise that confirmed her legendary status within classified Air Force programs. Her ability to engage incoming missile threats using advanced weapon systems and defensive techniques that were not part of standard pilot training proved crucial for protecting Edwards and its irreplaceable research capabilities. The successful defense of Edwards Air Force Base through Sarah's intervention prevented what could have been a catastrophic loss of American aerospace capabilities and classified research that would have taken decades to rebuild. Her willingness to abandon her cover identity and reveal her true capabilities had saved not just the base, but also ongoing programs that were crucial for American military aviation superiority. The exposure of Sarah's identity as Ghost Rider created immediate changes in base security procedures and operational protocols that recognized the presence of assets and capabilities that had been hidden even from senior base personnel. Her successful defensive mission validated the effectiveness of placing elite personnel in deep cover positions where they could respond to threats that conventional forces might not be able to address. For Sarah, the revelation of her true identity marked the end of 3 years of successful undercover operations but demonstrated the value of maintaining operational readiness even while conducting intelligence work in civilian cover identities. Her ability to transition from maintenance technician to combat pilot in minutes had proven the effectiveness of comprehensive cover identities that maintained both security and operational capabilities. The ground crew personnel who had worked alongside Sarah for 3 years gained new understanding of the hidden expertise and capabilities that existed within military installations, often concealed behind routine job assignments that masked the presence of elite personnel who were ready to respond when circumstances required their true skills and training. Sarah's story became a classified legend within Air Force test pilot programs and intelligence operations, demonstrating how elite aviators could serve in multiple roles while maintaining the operational readiness needed to respond when their unique capabilities became essential for national security operations that could not be conducted by personnel with conventional training and experience. Colonel Sarah Mitchell had proven that the most effective protection of military capabilities often came from personnel who served without recognition, maintaining cover identities that concealed their expertise while remaining ready to reveal their true capabilities, when the defense of critical national assets required skills and experience that existed only among the most elite military professionals. The maintenance technician who had seemed dedicated to keeping aircraft operational had actually been one of America's most experienced test pilots, ready to transition from ground support to aerial combat when the protection of Edwards Air Force Base required flying skills and tactical knowledge that could preserve aerospace capabilities essential for American military superiority and national defense. Ghost Rider had answered the call when her expertise was needed, proving that legends in military aviation were often hidden in plain sight, serving quietly until circumstances demanded the revelation of capabilities that could make the difference between victory and defeat in situations where conventional responses were insufficient to protect American military assets and personnel from threats that tested the limits of national defense capabilities.